Now stop. I feel it in the air right now. It's all around, I see it everywhere. It's the power. Yeah, yeah, God's power. It's the power to move any star. It's the power to heal your broken heart. It's the power. Yeah, God's power. So don't hold back, no, don't hold still. God is here and He is real. Take 4 steps to the left, to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn it around and move to the right. 1, 2, 3. Now take tiny little jumps forward to the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 jumps back, but you better look back. Let's do it all again right now. Take 4 steps to the left, to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn it around and move to the right. 1, 2, 3. Now take tiny little jumps forward to the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 jumps back, but you better look back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now freeze, and everybody clap your hands. Now stop.
Hi everybody. Now you know, to do really well at anything you need to dig deep and show some much needed determination. Sometimes everything seems stacked against us. There are problems and setbacks. Yet it is possible to achieve our goals and do better than anyone expected. Well, today we're going to hear about a man who against all the odds managed to meet Jesus, and when he did that, he found out how to live life to the full. Before we get to that though, we're just going to bring in our magical screen once again, there it is, and hear from our athletes, because they face difficulties just like you and I. There they are, and we asked them how God helps them to achieve their goals and do their very best at the same time.
Well, when I started off swimming, maybe I was 12 or 13, I remember writing down a goal to swim at the Olympic Games, but I never really thought I would. Everyone else was writing it down, so I thought, well, I suppose I should as well. I never actually thought I would reach that goal, but you know, I really enjoyed swimming, and I just found that I definitely God had given me the talent for swim, so that helped me to just keep working hard. Before I knew it, I was at the Olympic Games, and it definitely God helped me get there.
Growing up at the age of about 15, I was one of the smallest, and so I was really not that important, if you like, and I ended up taking a year out of football. Didn't think I was going to achieve any of my goals in life, and then I went on to start playing for team after team, and eventually made it into the professional ranks against all the odds. And you know, I thank God for that. You know, it was a struggle, but in the end I managed to prevail, and you know, it's the same for anyone. I often tell young children, no matter what you want to do, if you really put your mind to it, you can achieve it.
It's taken a deflection, it's soon, it's Stuart Elliott!
There are definitely times when there have been struggles with injury. A couple of times I was injury in my neck, meant I couldn't swim, I couldn't turn my head, and you know, that was kind of weeks of not being able to train properly, and it was very hard. I just had to keep focused and work on the things that I could do, like make sure I was still having a good diet, being sensible, and certainly praying again was something that I could do, and not getting too disappointed about it, but just trying to stay positive.
You know, within rowing I have my sporting goals, and I really want, you know, my parents and my friends and family to be proud of what I'm doing and how hard I'm working, and you know, I know that if I do my best within my sport, I can be proud of what I do achieve. But also, being a Christian, I want God to be proud of me, and that's to do with, you know, how I live, how I act, how I treat other people, to live how God wants me to live, just like Jesus, and Jesus is our role model and our example.
Well, there you go. How about that? Even when things were really tough, they had the strength and determination to keep going. They pressed on against all the odds. I'm sure you'll agree that that is pretty inspirational. Now, if I wind on my funky finger here, we should find the next bit for you, which is John. I think it's John. Over to you.
Hi Dan, I totally agree. No matter what, those guys did whatever was needed to achieve their dream. There was a guy called Bart who had a dream. He'd had a really tough life and there was no one around to help him. You see, Bart was blind and he couldn't see, he couldn't go to work, couldn't afford to live. So every day he would beg for help. Have you got any spare change? But eventually the local people got sick of him asking them all the time. So he moved to a place by a road where he would hope travellers would come past, so he wouldn't need to keep asking the same people for help day after day. The problem was, there was often days where nobody went by. There was no travellers to talk to and nobody to ask for help from. So sometimes he would go to sleep, tired, sad and hungry. But one day was quite different. It was very busy where he normally sat. There were crowds all around him. He could tell because the clothes were brushing past his face and he could hear all the noise. As he listened, he heard apparently that there was someone very famous coming by. He heard the name Jesus mentioned and everyone was really excited. In truth, he was really excited as well. He'd heard of Jesus. Well, everyone had heard of Jesus. The guy that did all those incredible things, told those amazing stories. In fact, he'd even heard rumours that Jesus had made some sick people well. Bart knew. He just knew that Jesus could help him. And he knew what he needed to do. He was going to shout so that when Jesus came past, he could ask him for help. But he wasn't going to ask for help in the way he usually did, for money. No, this time, he was going to ask for what he really needed. He wanted his eyes to work again. He wanted to see. He wanted to see what the sunshine looked like. He wanted to see the smile on children's faces. He wanted to see the trees and the hills and the fields around him. He desperately wanted to see what the town he lived in looked like. He'd never seen it. He desperately wanted Jesus to hear him. He desperately wanted Jesus to help him. And then he realised Jesus must be nearby. He could hear everyone shouting his name. He tried to get up, but the crowds were all close to him. He couldn't move. So he took a deep breath, and as loud as he could, he shouted, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." The crowd wanted to be quiet. "Shut up," they said. But he wouldn't shut up. Louder and louder he cried, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And then he knew Jesus was looking at him. He didn't know how he knew. He was just sure of it. And the crowd around him went quiet. He heard Jesus say, "Call him." Call him? Bart knew he meant call him. And then the crowd that had been telling him to shut up were now saying, "Get up, he's calling you." Straight away, Bart got up and left his coat on the road. He pushed his way through the crowd till he stood right in front of Jesus. He could feel Jesus' breath on his face. He felt his hand on his shoulder. And then Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" Well, that was an easy one. This was his big chance, his moment, his dream. "I want to see," he said. The crowd was silent. In fact, Bart wondered if they could hear his heart beating. It was beating so loud in him. And Jesus said, "Go. Your faith has made you well." Bart started blinking his eyes. And then he shut them tight because the light was shining in them. And then slowly he opened his eyes and there was a face right in front of him. The face of Jesus. The first face he'd ever seen. Jesus, the man who'd made his blindness disappear. Well, Bart was speechless. He was desperate to say something, even just a thank you, but he couldn't say a word. Then Jesus smiled and turned and continued down the road. Well, Bart didn't hesitate. He left his coat exactly where he dropped it and headed off following Jesus. His life would never be the same again. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks, John. Well, it just goes to show, doesn't it, that if you've got a dream, you've got to have determination as well. Even when everyone was against Bart, he didn't let anything stop him from meeting Jesus. And that really is what today is all about, making Jesus the goal and finding out what He can do for us. Enjoy yourselves today though, and I'll see you soon.
He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got the little bitty baby in his hands. He's got the little bitty baby in his hands. He's got the little bitty baby in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got everybody here in his hands. He's got everybody here in his hands. He's got everybody here in his hands. He's got the whole world 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 in his hands. Yeah, he's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got the whole world in his hands.
Round 2, tower building. Whoever can build the tallest tower wins. In 1 minute.
Ready, set, go.
Down. Push over. Come on, let's try. Oh my Jake. Oh, you didn't catch up. My stall right now.
5, 4, 3, 2, stop.
Who's
Hands
won?
up.
I won.
Okay.
Looks like.
Oh.
Stories of the Bible. Jesus heals a man born blind. This is Jesus, who is the Son of God and the Savior of the world. While Jesus was on earth, he taught everyone about God's love. He did many miracles and healed people of their sickness.
Oh, hey everyone!
One day, Jesus was walking with his disciples and he saw a man who was born blind.
Hey, Jesus!
His disciples wondered whose fault it was. That this man was blind. Jesus told them it was not because anyone sinned, but rather it was because the power of God could be shown through this man's life. Then Jesus spit on the ground and made mud. He spread the mud over the blind man's eyes and told him, "Go wash yourself in the pool of Siloam." So the man went and did as Jesus said, and he could see.
Wow!
The man's neighbors and others who knew him as the blind man wondered if this was the same man.
Is that the same guy? No way.
They said, "No, he just looks like him."
It's me. No, it can't be.
But the blind man kept saying, "Yes, it's me." So the people asked, "Who healed you? What happened?" And the man told them all that Jesus had done for him.
Ew, that's what happened.
The people asked, "Where is Jesus now?" But the man didn't know.
Come on, you.
So the people took the man to the Pharisees because it was the Sabbath, the day of rest, and they thought Jesus shouldn't have made mud and healed the man on the Sabbath. The Pharisees asked the man so many questions,
What's going on?
and he answered them, "I was blind, but now I can see." The Pharisees kept asking more questions. They even brought the man's parents in to ask them questions, but they wouldn't answer because they were afraid of the Pharisees. Finally, the man had enough and yelled,
Listen!
"Look, I told you once. Why do you want to hear it again? If this man were not from God, he couldn't have made me see."
Don't come back.
The Pharisees were so mad at the man for saying this that they threw him out of the synagogue. Jesus heard what happened,
Oh, hey there.
and he found the man and asked him, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" The man answered, "Who is he, sir? I want to believe in him." "You have seen him," Jesus said, "and he is speaking to you."
Wow!
"Yes, Lord, I believe." And he worshiped Jesus.